Since we had 9 AEW World Champions so far, I figured to make a simple list in which I will name AEW World Championship reigns from worst to the very best. I know this is a completely subjective opinion. I will make sure to look at consecutive title defenses and consider the time these wrestlers reigned as champions. Of course, I could go into deeper analysis on each championship run, but I feel like each title reign deserves a separate video. This list will just include my personal view on who was the best and the worst AEW World Champions, based on the days spent as champions, number of successful title defenses, and integrity of a champion himself. I think most of the champions on this list can be your personal favorites, and I believe almost all of them have valid points of being the best. This is my list, and you are welcome to share yours in the comment section down below. Alright, let's begin. The 9th place goes to the second reign of CM Punk. CM Punk held the championship for only 3 days and had 0 title defenses. He defeated Jon Moxley at All Out 2022. There's not really much to say about his reign, as in the 3 days he was champion, he managed to get into backstage fight and had to vacate the AEW World Championship. This title reign is the shortest in history of all elite wrestling.
You are going to find out exactly what you think you already know. That CM Punk is the master, and I know exactly who the I am.
The 8th place has to go to the first AEW World title reign of CM Punk. His first time winning a championship in AEW when he beat Adam Hangman Page at Double or Nothing 2022. CM Punk held the championship for 87 days and had 0 title defenses. While beating Hangman is an amazing achievement, it still leaves us with 0 title defenses. CM Punk, due to his injuries, had to vacate the AEW World title, being the first AEW World Champion to vacate his title and being the very first AEW World Champion to lose the belt without even defending it once.
Look, you have no idea how genuinely sorry I am that CM Punk just didn't turn out to be what you wanted him to be.
The 7th place goes to Jon Moxley and his 3rd AEW World Championship reign. Jon Moxley's reign as champion lasted 59 days and he had 2 successful title defenses. In 2022 September 21st on AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley defeated Bryan Danielson in AEW Grand Slam Tournament of Champions final to win the vacant AEW World Championship. After all the Punk drama due to which AEW title was left vacant, Jon Moxley wanted to prove who AEW champion should be and how he should behave. He wanted to lead by example and improve the moral in AEW locker room, as there was a lot of drama left after the action of previous AEW World Champion CM Punk. The first title defense Jon Moxley had was at AEW Dynamite 2022 October 18th against Adam Hangman Page. Then, not long after, Jon Moxley had a second title defense in 2022 October 26th AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley vs Penta El Zero Miedo, also known as Pentagon Jr. or Penta Oscuro. This was the second time Jon Moxley had retained his championship. As Jon Moxley wanted to lead by example, he did not shy away from his opponents, accepting challenges head-on. While standards he wanted to set for future champions was clear, he did not expect the upcoming challenger and his cunning plan to work. In 2022 November 19th, AEW Full Gear, MJF defeated Jon Moxley for AEW World Championship. MJF manipulated William Regal, who was the mentor of Jon Moxley, to the point Regal helped MJF win by handing brass knuckles which were used to defeat Jon Moxley. This was the end of Mox's reign. It is pretty sad. Moxley was trying to create new standards for proper AEW World Champions, but being cheated out and betrayed in order for a new champion to be crowned was a nasty way to go out. A man with lack of integrity dethroned Jon Moxley and is now currently still reigning as champion to this day.
One day, they will all come to my funeral just to make sure that I stay dead, but today is not that day.
And now, 6th place goes to Jon Moxley and his 2nd AEW World Championship reign. Jon Moxley's reign as champion lasted 70 days and he had 4 title defenses. As CM Punk was the champion who couldn't compete due to his injuries, AEW Interim World Championship was created. At AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door 2022 June 26th, Jon Moxley defeated wrestling living legend and the ace of Japan Hiroshi Tanahashi to win the AEW Interim World Championship. As Moxley's first championship reign was in pandemic era, when there was no crowds allowed, Moxley was determined to be as good of a champion as he was on his first run. And as the championship was called interim, it meant that there is a champion healing his injuries and waiting to come back and continue his reign. Moxley was looked as a placeholder to injured CM Punk. This is why Moxley did not hesitate to defend his championship. In 2022 July 6th AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defeated Brody King to retain the interim championship. A big opponent towering over Moxley was a scary challenge as there is, but Moxley was able to overcome this huge obstacle. From there, Jon Moxley continued defeating challengers left and right. In July 27th AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defeated former Ring of Honor heavyweight champion Rush to retain his championship. Later on in August 10th on AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defeated former and the first ever AEW World Champion Chris Jericho to retain his title. The time has finally came. CM Punk has returned from the injury. Some said his recovery was too fast, it was not possible that he was 100% healthy, but CM Punk wanted to reclaim his position as true AEW World Champion and to finally have at least one defense under his reign. AEW Dynamite episode in 2022 August 24th, Jon Moxley, the interim AEW World Champion, defeated CM Punk, the reigning AEW World Champion, to become the undisputed AEW World Champion. Some might say it's due to CM Punk still being injured, and some might say CM Punk got overconfident. I think it's for us to decide which side to believe. I'm saying this because the match was pretty short, Jon Moxley completely dominating CM Punk, giving him the first clean loss in AEW. If CM Punk wasn't 100% healthy, it was his choice to wrestle, it was his own fault for losing the match. And now finally, Jon Moxley was the undisputed AEW World Champion with 4 title defenses under his reign. 2022 September 4th, AEW All Out, CM Punk recovered and defeated Jon Moxley to win AEW World Championship. Jon Moxley's reign lasted 70 days and he had 4 successful title defenses.
I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was born rich, I was born attractive, I was born funny, I was born witty, I was born pretty, and I was born better than you and every single putrid person on this planet, and I ain't apologizing for it.
5th place goes to the current AEW World Champion Maxwell Jacob Friedman. As the reign is not over at the time I'm making this list, I can only comment on what already happened. And as of today, MJF AEW World title reign lasted for over 172 days with only 2 title defenses. 2022, November 19th, AEW Full Gear. MJF defeated Jon Moxley to win AEW World Championship. MJF defeated Jon Moxley by turning his mentor William Regal against him. The example that Moxley tried to set was immediately diminished, as MJF did not intend to defend his championship often, as well as he did not care about the methods of his defenses. MJF followed the standard that was set by the first AEW World Champion to defend the belt by any means necessary. In 2022 December 14th, MJF defeated Ricky Starks by cheating to retain his championship. In 2023 March 5th, at AEW Revolution, MJF defeated Bryan Danielson in a 60 minutes Iron Man match to retain his championship. MJF yet again did not hesitate to cheat. He did submit Bryan Danielson, but only after hitting him in the head with a heavy object. Currently, MJF is still reigning as a champion with over 172 days and 2 title defenses. His next title defense will be at Double or Nothing against 3 opponents in a fatal 4-way match against Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Because the title reign is not done as of today, I can't put MJF higher on the list, especially when considering how many times he defended the championship.
Chris, can we get a quick interview?
Oh, I'll give myself an interview. Isn't it funny how whenever somebody wins a world championship, there's always a standing ovation, champagne, roses, flowers, yet I got a whole backstage area filled with mutes. Nobody can believe that Chris Jericho is the first AEW champion. Pure silence. There's no thank you for Chris Jericho. There's no round of applause for Chris Jericho, but that's okay, because I got my own thank you, because I'm the first AEW champion.
4th place goes to the very first AEW World Champion, Chris Jericho. I would say it came very close to him being in the 3rd place, as he was the first AEW World Champion. But considering the integrity of his title defenses, the days reigning as champion, and the total times he retained the championship, I had to put him at 4th place. Chris Jericho, 182 days as AEW World Champion with 3 title defenses. 2019 August 31st, 1st at AEW All Out. Chris Jericho defeated Adam Page to win the inaugural AEW World Championship, getting the accolade of being the very first AEW World Champion. Using the underhand tactics, Jericho managed to reign as champion for 182 days, playing mind games and outsmarting every opponent he had. In 2019 October 16, at AEW Dynamite episode, Chris Jericho defeated Darby Allin to retain, having his first title defense. In 2019 November 9th AEW Full Gear, Chris Jericho defeated Cody Rhodes to continue his reign as champion. In November 27th AEW Dynamite episode, Chris Jericho defeated Scorpio Sky to retain and mark his third title defense. In 2020 at AEW Revolution, Chris Jericho lost his AEW Championship to Jon Moxley, who managed to play possum and lured Jericho into thinking the match will be a cakewalk. Moxley pretended to be blind with one eye. Well, if you don't remember, it was Chris Jericho who stabbed Moxley in the eye and didn't expect it for Moxley to heal fast enough by the time their match took place. In 182 days, Jericho managed to retain his championship status 3 times, hesitating to defend the title and putting roadblocks to anyone willing to challenge his reign. Considering him as the first AEW World Champion, I would have put Chris Jericho higher on the list, but only if he had more title defenses, as the next champion on this list had twice as much title defenses in almost same time.
I am everything that All Elite Wrestling represents. I'm the lowly Bullet Club job guy who worked his way up when he couldn't find opportunities. He made them his damn self and became a world champion.
Third place goes to Hangman Adam Page, with reign lasting 197 days and 6 successful title defenses, twice as much as the first AEW World Champion in a very similar timescale. 2021 November 13th AEW Full Gear, Hangman Adam Page defeated Kenny Omega to win the AEW World Championship. Hangman Adam Page was an ambitious champion, willing to prove his position as the very best champion, not being afraid to defend his reign against top-tier opponents. Not long after winning the championship, Hangman overcompensated his reign due to his own insecurities. 2021 December 15, AEW episode of Winter is Coming. Hangman Page vs. Bryan Danielson for AEW World Championship ended in a time limit draw, creating doubts to his status of being true champion, as he couldn't defeat his first opponent in time. In 2022 January 5th, at AEW Dynamite episode, Hangman Page defeated Bryan Danielson to retain his championship, proving that he knows how to adapt his wrestling style. In 2022 February 9th AEW Dynamite episode, Hangman Page defeated Lance Archer in a Texas Death Match to retain his championship. Accepting a brutal match in order to establish his dominance, Hangman Page proved he is a worthy champion. 2022 March 6th AEW Revolution, Hangman Page defeated Adam Cole to retain. While he did end up victorious, Hangman accepting the match showed how easy it was to get on his nerves. Personal history between Hangman and Adam Cole led to Hangman giving away a title shot to someone who did not earn it. On 2022 March 9th AEW Dynamite episode, Hangman Page gave away another title shot to a fairly new competitor, Dante Martin. He gave a title shot to a very talented wrestler who did not had a lot of experience in AEW. Hangman gave a chance to a promising rookie in order to prove himself as a fighting champion. Adam Hangman Page defeated Dante Martin to retain his AEW World Championship, marking his 5th successful title defense. In 2022 April 15th, at AEW Rampage episode, Hangman Page yet again let his personal feelings get in the way, giving away another title shot to Adam Cole. This time, Hangman wanted to really punish Adam Cole and challenge him to a Texas Death Match. Hangman defeated Adam Cole in a Texas Death Match to retain his championship, while the brutal schedule of Hangman's reign left him in a bad shape and mental state. This was the last successful title defense for Adam Hangman Page. In 2022 May 29th, at AEW Double or Nothing, CM Punk defeated Adam Page to win AEW World Championship and end Hangman's reign. While Hangman Adam Page was a fighting champion, his insecurities got in the way, same as they did him no favors in getting on top. Hangman is tough, but he doesn't adapt quickly. He is very stubborn, and that creates huge problems for him. But nonetheless, 197 days as champion puts him in the 3rd longest reign as AEW World Champion at the time of this video.
You got praise for it. You got flowers and awards for it. I didn't get nothing. They told me that it was a fluke. They told me it wasn't real. They said it didn't count. That's what I'd say too. If I got beat by a wrestling move I learned in 7th grade, this time I will leave no doubt. Hangman, you are a great wrestler. You are even a great man, but you are not the same animal as me.
Second place goes to Jon Moxley and his first reign as AEW World Champion. 277 days with 9 title defenses. Moxley was a dominant champion, not afraid to challenge himself and take upon tough competition. 2022 February 29th at AEW Revolution, Jon Moxley defeated Chris Jericho to win the AEW World Championship, becoming the second AEW World Champion in the history of All Elite Wrestling. In 2020 April 15th at AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defeated amateur wrestler Jake Hager to retain his title. The match against such a wrestler was set to show how Moxley is not afraid of clashing styles. As at that time Moxley was known as a brawler, he showed how much technical wrestling he adapted in order to face a tough amateur wrestler. Moxley wasn't afraid of bigger opponents, and the newcomer Brody Lee came to challenge him for the spot at the top. In 2020, May 23rd, at AEW Double or Nothing, Jon Moxley defeated Brody Lee by referee stoppage to retain his AEW World Championship. Moxley also proved his in-ring IQ as his next opponent looked unbeatable. Moxley scouted his opponent Brian Cage and found his weakness, a long-time injury to the arm that has not fully healed. In 2020 July 15th, AEW Fight for a Fallen, Jon Moxley defeated Brian Cage by using armbar to retain his championship. Moxley was already a veteran, and he noticed young upcoming stars trying to climb to the top too fast. He accepted the challenge of Darby Allin, promising he will teach a great lesson to the youngster. 2020 August 5th, AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defeated Darby Allin to retain his championship. And after the match, Moxley shook Darby's hand, showing respect. 2020 September 5th, AEW All Out, Jon Moxley defeated MJF to mark his 5th successful title defense. MJF out-wrestled Moxley to the point he was dominating, and to add, in that match Moxley's finishing move was banned. Moxley had a hard time keeping up with his technical wrestling and underhanded tactics, but Moxley was well prepared and in the end out-cheated MJF, using the banned finishing move at the right time when MJF was too focused on the opportunity to cheat when it presented itself. Moxley always kept to himself, never revealing his personal side, playing mind games and being too mysterious to reveal weaknesses in his character. This is why when Eddie Kingston came to AEW, Moxley knew it will be a big challenge. As Moxley knew Eddie Kingston since they were teenagers, he even had a good relationship with Kingston's mother, promising her to keep Eddie safe. While Eddie Kingston himself went mad as he never could make it to the big leagues, he found the best way to the top is by backstabbing people he used to love. Moxley accepted Eddie's challenge, as Moxley had to assert dominance as AEW World Champion. 2020 September 23rd, AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defeated his close friend Eddie Kingston to retain his championship. The result left both parties emotionally hurt. Moxley had to use his mentality of not taking anything personally, looking at everyone as his enemies before the match ends, while Eddie was devastated for not being able to win the big one. Eddie Kingston has gathered a gang of hungry for spotlight hired guns, known as Butcher and the Blade. As Butcher had enough singles victories under his belt, he was announced as the next challenger for AEW World title. 2020 September 30th, at AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defeated the Butcher to retain his championship. Jon Moxley showed a great game plan, and Butcher was no match for him. In the meantime, another beast was circling around, known as Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer. Both Moxley and Archer had a rivalry going back to their time in Japan, and Moxley knew one place where they can settle their match, a brutal fight in a no disqualification match. In 2020, October 14th, at AEW Dynamite episode, Jon Moxley defended his championship and defeated Lance Archer in a no disqualification match, proving once again the reason why he is on top. Even when Moxley already beaten Kingston, Eddie couldn't quit, following Moxley everywhere he go, challenging him for a rematch. Moxley knew Eddie personally, and he knew the type of person Eddie Kingston really is. Moxley knew that Eddie will not quit, so he decided to accept the challenge, but with one condition, and the condition was that they will have a match called I Quit. This is where you win when your opponent admits that he quits, by saying out loud, I quit. Moxley was determined to put down Eddie Kingston, no matter how much love Mox still had for him. 2020 November 7th, at AEW Full Gear, Jon Moxley went to war against his close friend Eddie Kingston, defeating him in an I Quit match to retain his championship, marking his 9th and last successful title defense. In 2020 December 2nd, at AEW Winter is Coming, Kenny Omega, by the help of Don Callis, defeated Jon Moxley to end his championship reign at 277 days and 9 successful title defenses. Moxley holds a record for most consecutive AEW World title defenses up to this day.
When Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega eventually wrestled in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom 12, business went up drastically. Now, do we all know what drastically means here? No. It means like by a lot. Like a lot. So that's because of me. Business went up. We made a lot of money. How are we looking for time, Don?
Oh, you know what? I think really Uncle Kenny's got to go. Lots of
so
business
sorry.
to do.
We got to go.
Very nice.
Oh,
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Are we getting this?
No,
We
not me.
getting this?
You guys
All
are the
that
champ.
fury.
The first place goes to Kenny Omega, with a record of a longest reigning AEW World Champion, 346 days and 6 successful title defenses. In 2020, December 2nd, at AEW Winter is Coming, Kenny Omega defeated Moxley to become AEW World Champion and shocked the world by turning on fans. Kenny Omega was known as one of the best gifted wrestlers of a decade. He was a child prodigy who self-taught most of her wrestling techniques by traveling the world and learning from culture of pro wrestling firsthand. The man that inspired him to become a pro wrestler was his uncle, and the man that taught him the ways of pro wrestling was his uncle's best friend, Don Callis. As for Don Callis, the man was obsessed with living his own fantasies of being singles champion through young prodigy known as Kenny Omega. Don pushed Omega to the limits, telling him to focus on what is important, to be the god of pro wrestling that everyone fell in love with, to be the main guy holding the top championships all around the world. With the help of Don Callis interfering in Moxley vs Omega match, Kenny Omega finally became AEW World Champion for the first time in his career. From there, Omega managed to capture multiple world championships from other wrestling promotions. At one point, Kenny Omega held AAA, Impact, and All Elite Wrestling World Championships at the same time. The first AEW World title defense came from facing his rival, with who he battled before for AAA World title. In 2021, January 6th, at AEW New Year Smash, Kenny Omega defeated Rey Fenix to mark his first successful AEW World title defense. As win against Moxley included underhanded tactics, Moxley wasn't going to let Omega go free. Moxley came out demanding the rematch for AEW World title, and the match he chose was one of the most violent matches pro wrestling culture has. Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch. A match that has barbed wire instead of ring ropes, objects laying around the ring engineered to cause violence. For example, wooden platforms with sticking barbed wire, and a mechanism that causes short bursts of explosion when there is an impact. Same goes for the barbed wire ring ropes. There would be a short burst of electricity burning everyone touching them. Any weapons were legal as there was no disqualification, and to top all of that, there was a timer set. When the timer goes down, there would be an explosion underneath the ring. I think you get the point. The match was to cause brutality. People remember that match, but not for the good reasons, as at the end there was a botched pyrotechnics. Everyone mocked it or was disappointed by not seeing the promised explosion. The way AEW tried to explain their mistake was by telling it was Omega who took part on engineering such a mechanism, kind of saying he didn't want it to risk a big explosion. 2021, March 7th, AEW Revolution, Kenny Omega defeated Jon Moxley in an exploding barbed wire deathmatch to retain his championship. Kenny Omega used the help of his former Bullet Club members to defeat Moxley right before the timer went off. The most important part of the match happened after the match. And no, it wasn't the explosion. After Omega with his henchmen left the ring, Moxley was laying in the ring unconscious. The alarm to indicate the explosion started, and we were about to see Moxley getting seriously hurt. As Moxley kept to himself and followed the mentality of never trusting anyone, he did not have any friends. But his rival and former friend Eddie Kingston came down from the ramp, shoving his goons Butcher and Blade to the side, running to the ring about to explode in order to wake Moxley up. Eddie Kingston couldn't wake Moxley up. He heard the countdown before the explosion and knew there was no time. What Eddie Kingston did was he covered Jon Moxley by laying on him to protect Moxley from explosion by sacrificing himself. Of course, the explosion had pyrotechnics botched and ruined the spot, but I do appreciate the storytelling. Alright, moving on to Kenny Omega. The barbed wire deathmatch marked the second successful title defense for Kenny Omega. From there, Kenny Omega started challenging world champions from different promotions by putting his own championship on the line. In 2021, April 25th, at Impact Wrestling Rebellion, Kenny Omega defeated Rich Swann to retain his AEW World Championship and captured Impact World Championship. In 2021, May 30th, at AEW Double or Nothing, Kenny Omega defeated Pac and Orange Cassidy in a three-way match to retain his championship. Being first AEW World Champion to defend his title in a freeway match. Kenny Omega looked unstoppable, while his schedule took a toll on his health. 2021 June 26th at AEW Dynamite episode, Kenny Omega defeated Jungle Boy to mark his 5th AEW World title defense. 2021 September 5th at AEW All Out, Kenny Omega defeated the man that beat him for the Impact World title, Christian Cage. Kenny Omega defeated Christian to retain his AEW World title for his 6th and last successful AEW World title defense. AEW Full Gear 2021 November 13th marks the end of Kenny Omega AEW World Championship reign, as Hangman Adam Page dethrones Kenny Omega and becomes the 4th AEW World Champion in the company. Kenny Omega is still currently holding the record for the longest AEW World Championship run, which lasted 346 days, and he had 6 successful title defenses. Being a triple world champion at the same time while consecutively defending each belt took a toll on Omega. After Kenny Omega lost the AEW World Championship, he took a long break to recover his injuries caused by the heavy schedule. So that is my list of best AEW World Champions. Thank you very much for sitting through my entire list of AEW World Champions. You're welcome to leave your top list of AEW World Champions in the comments as well. I would be very interested to see how much different it would be from my list. Alright, thank you very much for your time and have a nice day.